please welcome Rondi Ng.
Hello, and welcome all to CloudWorld 23. It's so amazing to see so many customers face-to-face again this year. Fusion Cloud ERP has been on the market for more than 12 years now. With 10,000 plus customers, our partner and customer ecosystem has never, ever been stronger. Not only do we see this ecosystem continues to help shape a lot of best practices in transformation and digital adoption, but we are so glad to see that many of them are influencing the way that we innovate, as well as a lot of future ideas and partnering with our Oracle development team back in Redwood Shores. So we're so glad and so pleased with this partnership that we're actually very excited to see them generating continuous value for all of you as customers. Now for today, we have a three-part agenda. First, we're going to cover customer adoption. And we're going to share with you some of the learnings, best practices, and also how many of them are pivoting into continuous value adoption. Second, we're going to talk about Oracle B2B. It was first introduced last year here at Vegas in CloudWorld. This is an Oracle approach to simplify B2B complexities, especially kind of for those people who are transacting with each other on our Oracle SaaS environment. The last part, many of you probably are waiting for. We are going to cover a lot of machine learning, generative AI technologies. We're going to share with you our investment directions, as well as some of the use cases. We're also going to show you a couple of demos. So without further ado, let's get started. The top customers around the globe, across multiple different industries, are operating their mission-critical back office operations on our Fusion Cloud ERP. As I said, we have 10,000 customers. 87% of them have already gone live. And of course, many of them are still going through different phases of their adoption. Now, you may have the question, how do they adopt? What have they learned? Where are they going? Many of our large enterprise customers in the last few years, when they adopt our SaaS ERP, typically they are backed by a digital transformation program in a company. And many times it's jointly led by business and IT leaders. And there are three key aspects that we have learned from these customers. Number one, instead of doing a technical lift and shift approach like how they did it in the on-premise days, the best implementations that we have seen all follow a very similar, simplified, standardized, and automate approach, leveraging a lot of the modern best practices within Fusion Cloud ERP. Many of the global business process owners and the transformation officers are empowered to really focus on and prioritizing business outcomes. For example, how they actually can generate more automation, how they can actually leverage more of the data and business analytics out of the box over just change management complexities. Now, second part, we have a lot of customers focusing on, instead of going through a big bang approach in go lives, many of them are adopting an agile and incremental phase approach in the adoption. And generally, there are two strategies around there. First, a right-to-left strategy. Many of our customers starting with the corporate accounting functions, FP&A office, starting to actually get a new financial management reporting analytics systems, planning of budgeting and forecasting, putting a new consolidation with a new chart of accounts, getting that particular space all squared out, getting the confidence, and starting to move back to a little bit to the left in terms of some of the spend subledger functions. For example, indirect procure to pay, or different cash management functionality, fixed assets, project accounting, and so on and so forth. As they finish, they continue to move further on to the left, where they are focusing on some of the order to cash, supply chain, and then to manufacturing, to the mid-office, sometimes subscription, CPQ, and so on. That's the right-to-left strategy. Number two, many of them are going from a small to large methodology as well, starting with a small country, a small subsidiary, where they actually use that to try to prove out the new transformation as well as the process model, get comfortable, get some successes, and then continue to refine from there, getting to some of the more complicated, larger businesses as well as countries. Now, many of our customers use both the right to left as well as the small to large methodologies in their adoption very successfully. Now, you may want to ask, what about those customers who have already gone live for a few years? Many of them, that's the third part, many of them are starting to really look at how they can do more. What's the next stage of the transformation to drive adoption and creating more value of the investments in the SaaS platform? Many of them are starting to look at all the missed opportunities during their go live. Many times, the configurations or the business processes are not as optimal. They may have missed capabilities because they didn't actually get time to do that. Many times, they're starting to reassess how they can actually further the automation, further the data information access by really looking at transformation after the go live. At the same time, many of them are getting to the practice of consuming and evaluating the quarterly release new capabilities coming from Oracle. Many times, these are directly appropriate for some of the post-go-live adoption. Many times, our customers also actually recognize that the skill sets in their IT organization, the business organization, needs to be pivoted into a business configuration, business IT type skill set, so they can continue to explore different values within the cloud platform. And some very advanced customers even actually work directly with our product development organization and continue to influence our roadmap and innovations going forward. So we welcome all of that. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce a great customer leader who is going to share with you some of the transformation experience as well as some of their ongoing evolution journey. So please welcome Mr. Greg Russo, Group Vice President, Financial Transformation at Albertsons.
Hey, Rodney.
Good
to see you.
Welcome back, Greg.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Albertsons is one of the largest U.S. market chains
Yes.
by revenue, starting from Boise, Idaho, to now 2,200 stores everywhere, everything from food processing, pharmacies, fuel, manufacturing plants, to now, I've heard that 300,000 people. That's
Yes.
a huge scale and growth.
Absolutely.
Clearly. So why don't we start by having you introduce yourself and also where you are, set the stage of where you are in your cloud journey, how you got here.
Sure. So my name is Greg Russo. I'm in charge of finance transformation. I started in the HR space, believe it or not, and ended up in finance, obviously going to the cloud. We needed to get off a legacy system. That was about 2 years ago. So we just celebrated 2 years on ERP last week. Okay, and by the way, last Friday was our best quarter close to date. So we got it done in basically 4 days. And we took a quarterly release on Monday night. Friday night, right? Without any big issues. So it was fantastic. We were able to close our quarter, go into a quarterly release, and up and running, 5 o'clock in the morning and ready to go, keep on going. So, with that going on, we've had a lot of activity going on with the organization, and we continue to build off of the application, right? To your point, we had to hurry up and try to get this thing up and running. And then it was like, stabilize, optimize, and then after that, what other features can we take advantage of? In the meantime, we didn't stop with ERP, right? We went with EPM and budgeting and forecasting. This past summer, we went live with benefits for HR, okay, which is a big deal. If anybody's ever done benefits administration, that's a complicated process. So that went live in June. And now we're going forward with the replenishment system in October. We're kicking it off. So we continue to take advantage of the system. Now, I will tell you, we're constantly going back and looking, what did we leave behind? What opportunities did we not take when we were building the application? Because listen, we're running a business. So you bring the system up, you got to get the things going, we got to pay the bills. And then next, you got to come back and say, okay, what could I have done better? And we're constantly looking at it. The good news about some of this stuff is we use Oracle as the North Cloud. I mean the North Star. We don't have to decide what application we're going to go after. The first question is, why not use Oracle, right? And so I'm always on the call with some of your folks and say, hey, what about this problem? Oh, we got something over here. Or they're honest and tell me they don't have something, right? So that's actually a great relationship with us as we move forward on all the things we're doing.
It's great. Okay, so now I understand that you're realizing a lot of benefits and continuing to really embrace using the cloud, expanding from kind of an established SaaS platform that you have already put in place. That's all great to hear. Now, you have been live and operating on our SaaS for a couple of years.
Yes.
What are some of the post-go live focus in terms of kind of like reassessing all of kind of the things that you have done, furthering the value, automation, as well as new data access approaches, and so on and so forth?
You know, as I mentioned, we closed our books, you know, actually earlier. We did it with 15% less staff, so we're gaining efficiency that we didn't expect. We're constantly looking at AI and robotics, process automation, and there's things that we may have invested in other platforms a couple of years ago. Now we're going back and saying, I call it remediation, going back and saying, is that the right platform? Should I bring it in-house? And with AI and automation, there's a lot more to look at than before, right? Because a lot of that was stagnant, if you will, and it's changing so quickly. Matter of fact, I was just on a call based off of a meeting yesterday with my team and said, hey, we need to go look at this, something we implemented a year ago. We may not need that. Stop doing that, and let's transition over to what Oracle has.
Right.
So we're always looking at the capabilities and what we can move forward with.
Excellent. Okay, so now clearly innovation is a big part of your value equation for Albertsons. Okay.
Absolutely.
You and I have talked about, because you mentioned also a lot of the machine learning, AI, different payment technologies, and so on. Can you share with the audience kind of your mindset about taking advantage of these technologies, and what does that mean for Albertsons?
Sure. I mean, one of the things that now that we're on ERP and we have the HR component, what I like to look at is I now have visibility to multiple platforms, right? Before they were very siloed and run differently. And now that I can see them, it's like, okay, you're doing something over here in procurement that is affecting how we're doing our accounts payable. And then when I look at my terms, you know, our payment terms, they may not always match. And so now you're able to start going to solve that. I can tell you over the past 6 months alone, we found, I'll just say more than 8 digits in numbers, over $10 million in cash flow savings, just because we were able to start looking at the full stream of data, instead of just the final piece, which is, to me, the AP is the final piece, right? You cut the check and go. What's happening all upstream, and why didn't that flow through correctly, okay? Everybody assumes it's working, but nobody's really, they're checking their piece, but they're not looking at it from a broad perspective. And so we're finding savings constantly now that we weren't looking for before.
That's great. So what you're describing there is now you have actually adopted transformation. You're seeing the end-to-end processes and giving you the visibility. I think the term that you like to use is transparency.
Transparency,
right?
yes.
So this transparency is realizing a lot of real value, and you're capitalizing on it.
Yes.
That's very, very nice. All right, so last question.
Sure.
Okay, so you have heard Oracle talking about service-oriented, customer-first approach.
Sure.
We're definitely very passionate, and we are very excited partnering with customer every single step of the way and making sure that they realize success. Now, we actually have been working together for a long time.
Right.
Okay. Now, from your perspective and from what you have experienced, tell the audience here
Sure.
a little bit about the Albertsons Oracle partnership.
Sure.
How have you actually realized that success kind of with partnership with us?
So let me answer that in 2 ways. First of all, I've been extremely impressed with what I've experienced with Oracle. Okay, I've worked with Oracle on and off for a very long time in prior jobs, and you know, it's primarily a database company, you know, and now what I'm finding is they're helping me solve my problems. Okay, that is a big deal. Because lots of times it's like, here's your platform, here's your application, good luck with that. Go find yourself a system integrator, we're off to something else. I'm not finding that. I meet with Oracle every week. And every week it could be just a slight nuance of a problem, or how do you handle this component, and they are on it. Okay, because you know, as you switch to a cloud environment, your IT infrastructure gets more limited, if you will, right? They're focused on the engineering, the integrations. They're not doing all the stuff that they used to because that's in the cloud. So working with Oracle and the customer service they provide the insights into that application and how it all comes together. When I talked about transparency, you have people, let's say in your procurement department, that may not understand how the AP department works, or how procurement may work with HR from a hierarchy perspective, right? And now that it's all connected, not everybody has visibility to that in our organization, but your team does. And they can say, hey, if you fix something, I can't tell you, I had somebody just 2 weeks ago, click this box and it'll solve a problem. And it was like, bam, it was done. There are a lot of boxes in the system to click, right? Because it is it is a configuration model versus a code model. And so just being able to pick up the phone and say, hey, how do I do this? Oh, go to this page, click this button, and you're there.
Yeah.
So I actually get to meet with my Oracle counterparts on a daily basis. The customer service has been fantastic.
Oh, this is great. We love to partner with our customers. There are lots and lots of complexity, but also a lot of hidden gems with our business applications. We love to partner with our customers, make sure that you explore all the possibilities. And Greg, thank you so much for joining here today again.
Sure.
And thank you for your partnership.
Great, thank you.
Now, with our Fusion quarterly release model, we've been able to consistently deliver over 1,200 new capabilities to our customers. And this has been the case for the last few years. And more than 50% of these capabilities came directly or indirectly working with customers through online or direct communication with customers. This partnership is generating a lot of value that are directly applicable to the customers requesting it, and we're delivering on an ongoing basis. Many of the capabilities that you see on the screen here span from some of the very advanced capabilities for multinational companies, industry-specific, lots of embedded machine learning and AI functionality, and many of these features are being featured in different product family sessions this week. If you're interested in learn about that, I highly encourage you to check out these sessions later on. So now, in addition to all the customer-led innovations, Oracle is also very excited about working on a couple of new innovation areas that I'm going to tell you right now. First off, Oracle B2B. Oracle B2B was first introduced, like what I said earlier, last year in CloudWorld. And what are we trying to solve? Now, when you think about today, Fusion Cloud ERP automates a lot of business processes and transactional activities for our customers really well within their cloud ERP environment. But when you think about a basic B2B trade, even a relatively simple one, many parties are involved. Your customer, your supplier, your banks, and if physical good is involved, your logistics companies as well. Think about each of these parties have to record their legs of transactions in their own format, okay, and then in their own system. Think about there are a lot of complexities for a B2B trade, starting with a sales order, and then you have purchase order, you have shipment, you have invoices, you have different payments, or maybe loans are involved, lots of complexities in integration, and actually visibility to where we are in the process, and reconciliation across the board. So with Oracle B2B and 45,000 customers on Fusion Cloud ERP and NetSuite ERP, we believe to fix this problem to start with, we are actually trying to partner with some of the largest service providers amongst this customer base and try to embed their business services directly from within Fusion Cloud ERP. For example, last year, partnering with JP Morgan, we actually have embedded their banking and payment services natively in our Fusion Cloud ERP. So now Fusion Cloud ERP customers who bank with JP Morgan from within Fusion can log on to the JPM online account, and behind the scene, we synchronize everything. So from some of the complex payment connectivity to your bank account details, payment formats, we take care of all of that in a matter of hours, versus typically it would take days, sometimes weeks, to actually get all that set up. Now all your payment processes, like ACH or check runs or receipt processing or lockbox, are all going to run even better and more seamless. At the same time, we actually take real-time bank account balances from your JP Morgan and feeding directly into our predictive cash forecasting engine, so we can use real-time information to drive near real-time forecasting. Now, in addition to that, we've worked with JP Morgan. We had jointly actually issued an Oracle-branded JP Morgan card. And I have one of these right here. So what's the big deal of this card? This is my corporate T&E card. I've been using this card and the mobile wallet for the last few days here in Vegas. Every single charge that I do on this card automatically creates the expense entry within the Oracle Fusion Expenses system with all the details. So there's almost actually nothing that I need to do further. Sometimes kind of if it's a big amount and I need to provide justification, the system is going to guide me to do that. The notification coming on my phone is going to guide me to complete the transaction. When it's done, everything is submitted to my manager for approval, and I get expenses reimbursed faster than ever before. This is what we call touchless expenses, and this is only made possible with the partnership with JP Morgan. There are a lot more to come. We're actually working with them on different financing options and credit options, and more than 50 of our customers are starting to deploy and roll out these embedded services from our partnership in here. Now, in addition to that, outside of the banking space and logistics, we partner with Federal Express. As you know, almost kind of all of you actually do businesses and use Federal Express services. Federal Express also actually is live globally on Fusion Cloud ERP, over 100 plus countries. We partner with Federal Express and embedded their native rate quoting service, billing, tracking, shipping, all directly from within our Oracle Transportation Management and Order Management flow, similar fashion. So you may ask, so where do we go from here? Clearly, Oracle is very focused on expanding our investment in this particular space, especially in financial services. We are actually embedding more financial services in a couple of dimensions. First, we are partnering with a lot more banks and payment providers to expand our global coverage, prioritized by where and who our customers bank with. The second dimension, we are expanding into a lot more credit and financing services. Clearly, a lot of opportunities beyond just a native banking integration or standard cash-based payments. So let's play a video.
Today, enterprise buyers and suppliers have little input into simplifying their B2B payments. Disconnected software platforms, mismatched data, and ill-timed payment methods. Why can't enterprise B2B payments be as simple as buying everyday things in our personal lives? Oracle and MasterCard have partnered to help enterprise customers automate end-to-end B2B payment transactions and enable faster access to working capital. The joint innovation generates virtual card payments from your participating banks directly with Oracle Cloud ERP, enabling better control over your operating cash flow. End-to-end integration means suppliers no longer need to manually enter card information. Payments are processed straight through and deposited directly into the merchant's bank account. By offering and accepting virtual cards, your business will recognize cash flow advantages, reduced costs and overhead, and give you and your staff more time to focus on what matters. Within Cloud ERP, you can easily activate a virtual card program from your banks and immediately start paying your supplier invoices. Tracking virtual card payments is easy. MasterCard technology automatically generates secure virtual cards for each supplier as part of the pay run. Buyers can pay multiple invoices with one card payment and receive payment confirmation, all within Cloud ERP. For suppliers in the Oracle SaaS ecosystem, payments can be processed all the way through to invoice application and reconciliation for a fully integrated payment experience. Oracle and MasterCard give you faster access to working capital and a trusted, automated, end-to-end global payment solution.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to introduce Mr. Brian Tompkins, Managing Director, Global Head of Commercial Cards at HSBC, and to my far left, Mr. Eugene Burke, Executive Vice President, Enterprise Partnerships at MasterCard. Brian, Eugene, thank you so much. Welcome to Vegas.
Amazing to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Kyle. We are very excited about our B2B payments investment, and we'd like to take it to the next level. Many of our customers are international customers and like to have digital banking consistencies and services internationally. Both HSBC and MasterCard are global powerhouses in the finance and payment space. So we're so excited to partner with you guys. So now, Brian, let's start with you. Okay, so HSBC has been a customer of Oracle and live on Fusion Cloud ERP for many, many years. Why don't you tell us a little bit about HSBC and also your role at HSBC, please?
Sure. So
we'll start with us as a customer, perhaps. So yes, we use Oracle Fusion in, I think, 60 countries, and we have over 65,000 employee users. I'm a user of the software myself. HSBC, we're, as you mentioned, a very large international bank. We have about 39 million customers globally, and we operate in 60 markets or so. From a commercial cards perspective, that's the business I look after. That's anything cards related that is not consumer retail card. That's under my shop. Purchasing cards, virtual cards, corporate cards, business debit, credit, etc. And we issue those commercial cards in about 45 countries.
That's great. You know, like a lot of our customers are international, global, and bank in many, many different countries. And clearly, HSBC is one of the very popular banks among them. Okay. Now, Brian, so how do you see, with the tight economic headwinds right now, changing the way that our corporate customers are actually managing the capital right now differently, right? And then at the same time, what kind of technology and experience innovations are the customers requesting from the banks?
Okay, so macroeconomic environment, interest rates, it's central bank rates is probably the biggest impact. They're now, 10 times bigger than they were, 10 times higher than just 18 months ago. It's incredible, and that was, a decade of ultra low rates. So one thing that's certainly changing behavior is companies want to hold on to their own cash for longer, and that makes unsecured lending from banks a lot more attractive. In terms of unsecured lending, cards sits nicely in that sweet spot. I mean, everyone's familiar with T&E cards. Many will be familiar with virtual and purchasing cards as well, and using those products to pay suppliers. I guess one thing that's been perhaps a barrier to growth, to exponential growth on paying suppliers in B2B on virtual cards, is the process. And so you talked about what are customers wanting, demanding. I think probably embedded finance is a very, very key piece of that. It's a key strategy at HSBC, but also a key demand of customers, right? I would tell you that today, we've got many, many customers that use Oracle services. They'll use Oracle ERP, Fusion SaaS. They'll do their supplier management there, everything through to invoicing. Then when it comes to the settlement, they want to settle on a virtual card, they would log into the HSBC virtual card portal, which is underpinned by MasterCard technology. Have a set of users that need to be maintained there, generate cards, an email will be sent to that supplier. The supplier then needs to deal with that. So there is I guess a barrier in the process today of clunky steps, if you like.
Exactly the problem that we're seeing, and we'll come back to that point a little bit later. Now, clearly, many of the audience here probably has one or more of these MasterCard branded consumer cards in your pocket. And I can't even remember last time that I used a check or cash to pay for something. Now, Eugene, okay, so you guys in MasterCard has invented the virtual card, and clearly has a lot of partnerships, B2B and B2C. Now, tell us a little bit about the technology scale at MasterCard, as well as how you guys actually are supporting banks, as well as corporate customers in leveraging the commercial cards, virtual cards.
Absolutely, Randy. So look, as I said, great to be here. So just for the audience, so I do two things within MasterCard. So I run business development for our partnerships, enterprise partnerships business. And in that part of the business, what we do is we're looking to partner with non-traditional MasterCard customers to try and solve for inefficiencies and challenges in other industries that we feel our technology combined with a partner can bring some innovation at scale to those areas. I also happen to be the executive responsible for the HSBC relationship, so it's great having Brian on stage with us here. Thinking through the commercial card space, we see a lot of runway in commercial cards and volume growth over the next few years. In Q1 this year, we saw 21% growth on payment volume globally on commercial products. A big driver of that has been virtual card. And so from a MasterCard perspective, when we think about card programs, our role is to create the network. So our role is to create the two sides, so acceptance on one side and distribution on the other. And I think what we've been able to do on the commercial card side, working with Brian and HSBC, is we build a distribution model, but we have to build the acceptance side. And what we call supplier enablement is one of the biggest challenges in this space. So that's one of the things that we're really focused on. I also see an opportunity to bring financial services to the point of action for the users of corporates. So, those points of decision where you want to make a payment, need to make a payment, then those tools exist in that environment.
Right. Consumer experiences, we are actually setting the bar very high, right? We can use the card pretty much everywhere and use it for anything, and with the convenience of mobile devices and so on. But in contrast to the consumer experience in the business world, large companies are not able to deploy these commercial cards for their purchases easily. As Brian said, there are lots and lots of complexity involved in there. Now, can you actually describe a little bit from your perspective, what are the hindrances? What's the adoption experience like for the big
Yeah, I mean, fragmentation in the technology space is a massive challenge here. So we see that as, you have siloed processes, delays and inefficiencies in the process. Also, just very simply, as Brian alluded to earlier, the setup of the commercial card program and the virtual card program can take typically between 6 and 9 months to set up a virtual card program. We think, and we're doing it right now, working with Rondi's team, we're looking to reduce that to a matter of weeks. Similar on, hopefully, being on the buyer side from a bank perspective. Again, reducing the time of that by automating processes within ERP is really critical to how we can evolve, together. What we see, obviously, and you referred to it there, Rondi, is the consumerization that we see in how we use our products today. I saw Uber actually on stage earlier with Safra, and that is kind of the benchmark that we look towards. And we're starting to see those demands in the commercial product space as well. But also there's opportunity. We see needs for working capital, needs for automation, needs to change the way corporates pay each other to bring efficiency to that process. So that's exciting, and we really feel that being able to, as I said before, embed those services at the point of action is critical. And just to touch on a couple of other things, Brian alluded to earlier as well. Making a virtual card payment today, once you do log into the portal as Brian described, it's typically an email. So it's a secure email from the buyer to the supplier for them to then make the payment. We want to automate those things. And the natural place to do that is in that customer, that point of record, and create the action around it.
Yeah, frankly, the ERP has been the missing link to really automate this end-to-end. And I'm not aware of any ERP system on the market today that has embedded virtual card payment capability for the enterprises. And that's why I'm super excited to partner with you guys to really actually take this to the next level. Okay, some of the things that we're working with both MasterCard and HSBC on, really actually trying to automate the entire end-to-end from a Fusion buyer activating the virtual card as a payment rail directly from the ERP to identifying all the suppliers who accept cards, generating the payments, and then getting the money routed from the buying bank to the seller's bank, all in a straightforward processing. And if the seller happens to also run on Cloud ERP, we'll update the AR as well. So it's essentially is from Fusion AP for the buyer side, the bank, the network of credit cards, and then to the bank of the sellers, and then back to the bank's AR, right? All end-to-end experience, right? That's kind of basically what we are actually going to be delivering very soon. Okay.
Yeah, I think I wholeheartedly agree with that. And there are other embedded cards in platforms out there, procurement platforms, et cetera, but none of it has addressed that end-to-end.
Yeah.
And I think the work that we're doing here and putting together that consideration of both the buy side and the supply side, kind of really will be transformative for our mutual customers. Talking of the buy side, I mean, that's our customer base. So we would typically be banking that customer that's making payments, if you like. It's very simple. It's working capital. Put that on the bank, pay now, pay the bank later, hold on to your cash at, well, an opportunity cost that could be 6, 7, 8%. So there's a lot of reason to do that. The automation piece, I think, is what will find another gear in the whole flow that we have operating today. So I think the last thing I'll say is there are incentives for customers to use it, potentially for a financial rebate to our buy side of the equation. And then the key, I guess, is what's in it for the supplier. You mentioned the supplier enablement. I know MasterCard have been doing a lot of work in this space, in B2B supplier enablement in general, and making sure that the acceptance continues to grow. I think getting that right, getting that straight through, and getting the message to the sellers that they can get their money sooner, they're not chasing invoices, straight through process. Again, I think this is transformative.
And just to Ronnie, just to build on that point, that Brian raised, we see it's approximately 25 to 30% of customers who will accept a virtual card payment today don't actually get paid by virtual card because of an inefficiency in process. So by fixing that, there's an immediate uplift and actually giving the supplier an experience that they want. But the technology doesn't necessarily do that today. And just building on the other point that you raised, Ronnie, about the integration, we do see virtual card integrated in other areas, but not deep in the ERP. It requires more work, more technology development to enable those other experiences. And I think that's the unique thing that we're doing here. So.
Yeah, to add on to Brian's point, as a supplier, I don't have to deal with the collection process. And frankly, if I'm cash tight, for me to actually get a short-term loan versus actually paying for the interchange fee, this is still a much higher value to accept credit cards, okay? Now, clearly there are lots of value propositions for both the buyers as well as the suppliers, but clearly there are lots of value propositions for the banks and MasterCard as well. Clearly for the banks, we definitely would like to think that by taking basically all the client demands and providing them a great client experience is going to make a much stickier relationship and be able to provide even opportunities for you to upsell other products like lending services from HSBC and so on, right? For MasterCard, clearly we'll kind of work with you to continue to expand this capability and using our partnership and investment in here technology-wise to deploy to a lot more banks globally. So clearly, this is a very amazing partnership, and the opportunities are unlimited. I think there are lots and lots of ideas that we've been talking about, in particular MasterCard in the T&E space, and with you guys in HSBC on the lending space. So we're just looking forward to all the ongoing partnership and investments. And Brian, Eugene, thank you so much for joining us today. We actually love to work with HSBC and MasterCard, and we appreciate a lot of your personal investment and your team's investment, and we're going to create something really differentiating on the market. And thank you again.
Thank you for inviting us. This partnership is going to be awesome. I'm very excited.
Yeah, same. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you.
All right, so as you can see, Oracle is very heavily investing in our B2B partnerships because there are lots and lots of opportunities and value that we're going to bring onto the table to help our customers transact even more efficiently in our cloud ecosystem. And over the months to come, you're going to hear from Oracle a lot more partnerships and services from many different kinds of partners outside of the banks, as well as logistics companies and other digital services. So some of our partners are going to even talk about the partnership in different sessions in this conference. So feel free to check it out and learn more about that. So with that, I'm going to invite Matt Bradley to come on stage, and he's going to share with you the machine learning and generative AI investment directions, some of the use cases there. Matt, thank you.
Andy, I'll grab that. Morning, everybody. So first of all, we just want to level set in that we actually have got quite a lot of machine learning already embedded directly into Cloud ERP. We've been leveraging that to deliver on our strategy to simplify, standardize, and automate processes. So first and foremost, some of the processes that we have automated is our touchless operations. It's things like intelligent document recognition that we're leveraging to use to automate the processing of paper invoices. It can be everything from taking, trawling our data and looking at patterns in the data and trying to provide insights to you, anomalies that are occurring inside your data in real time so you can see and analyze much quicker, much faster. And obviously, we can leverage it in our predictive forecasting capabilities, the ability to look at your history, look at the seasonality in that data, and then forward project information based on the machine learnings that we put in place. We're going to continue to enhance these capabilities. We'll continue to add more capabilities inside of this particular area. One area that we're working very heavily on is what we call recipe-based machine learning, where we've actually done the heavy lifting on your behalf. We've actually done the training of the model and using that model to then be applied, in this case, to our cash forecasting capabilities, taking all of the invoice information and all of the attribution and then generating when we expect to see an invoice get paid. Well, obviously, we are extending the system to bring your own models into the planning context. So if you've done some data science yourselves and you'd like to leverage that at an operational detail inside some of our connected planning use cases, we're going to provide capabilities to achieve and actually deliver upon that. What we've been talking about today is fundamentally traditional AI. And that's using traditional models of regressions, classifications, categorizations. And they're important because they're extremely efficient. They're also important because they're designed to solve a specific problem, a specific task. And they've also got a high degree of what we call explainability. You can understand, once you understand the math, where the numbers are coming from. And it's extremely important for these processes in order to have that capability. When we talk about generative AI, it's a slightly different beast altogether. It's generating new content based upon inputs you give it and based upon the data sources that you train the models with. And the use cases that we expect to see in this kind of area are things like narratives to explain the story behind the numbers. So if you look at annotations you may need to put in place for reconciliations or posting journals, we can generate that text automatically on your behalf to speed up that particular process. That can lower audit costs, that can improve the quality of the information that's available. It can also be leveraged to synthesize information from multiple different data sources and generate a summary based upon those particular sources. So again, it's things like being able to improve problem resolution time, being able to reduce training costs. Those are some of the use cases that we expect to see from that particular angle. When it comes to the generative AI, there's things that we need to teach it. We need to teach it finance. We've got a peculiar way of talking. When we talk about accounts and balances, when we talk about, rolling 12-month forecasts, when we talk about trading 12-month actuals, those kind of vocabulary, we need to explain that to the model. And once the model has got that in place, we then can use it for uplifting, say, digital assistants, becoming much more effective in terms of how you work and operate with that. There's this notion of conversational finance, that I can take prompts, work that through it, and it can help steer me in order to arrive at better decisions. And that's what we expect to see at the very bottom, where we're bringing both the traditional AI as well as the generative AI together. So traditional AI can generate us a forecast, and generative AI can help explain the variance, generating the text from that particular standpoint. In order to make this a little easier to follow, we're actually going to come up with a demonstration vision on some of the work that we've done. In this case, I'm Derek. I'm the director of FP&A for an EV company, and I've got to produce a report. I've logged into my screen, and I see right in the top corner, here's the report that I need to generate for the revenue side of the business. I've also have an insight, and this is an operational insight that's telling me there was a supply chain problem with respect to battery shortages. Again, we're leveraging traditional AI in conjunction with this to spot those particular problems and patterns. So we'll move ahead, and we'll see if we can actually edit the document. And what we do when we edit the document, this is leveraging our narrative reporting capabilities, we're actually doing a roll forward. We produced this document in Q2, we've updated it to Q3, and we've regenerated the document from that particular standpoint, pulling information from the systems as you work it out through. Now, Derek needs to add a new section. He's got to add a new section to handle this supply chain insight issue. And we've come up with a very specific prompt for him to basically do that. So we're guiding the model to get us the right results coming out of that. So now we've generated an insight that's going to explain the text behind that. Obviously, this is going to be a topic of conversation at the management meeting. And we're not only interested in this piece, but David already knows that we did a new supplier, we brought them on board. And we want to discuss the impact of that new supplier and how it's been able to help out with this shortage. So new supplier is Megatech. And we brought them on board during the quarter, and obviously there's some ramp-up time. We're not quite out of the shortage situation right now, but we're getting close. In order to really make the point clear, we're going to add a chart into this particular document. It's basically going to explain that trend over time so we can see that shortage getting smaller, and we've been confident that our Q4 will actually end up with no supply shortage at all. So again, with some general prompting, we can now generate this particular report. So ultimately, you've seen us do something fairly simple here in terms of leveraging generative AI to help us generate the narrative to explain the numbers that's in place. We're obviously expanding this across the entire ecosystem, pulling in all of the data sources that is appropriate for this particular organization. And as you see at the very, very top, we've actually updated the summary, adding in that new text that we dealt with respect to the generative AI piece, as well as that new section that's in place. So ultimately, you've seen us be able to generate a first draft of a document. David has got complete control. He can go change that text if he doesn't like what's been generated, but he now owns and manages that entire process, and it's much more efficient, much more effective, and he can get through these report and time crunches much more effectively. Okay. So let's jump to the next demo, and our next demo is in our PPM capability. I'm now Amy, believe it or not, and Amy's got to work on a project plan from an opportunity that she came from her practice manager. We're actually going to be doing a marketing campaign on behalf of Big Mart. And ultimately, we carry across the information, name, title, dates, etc. But what we're doing slightly different here is that we've synthesized existing project plans that are relevant for this opportunity and brought them into the table. So instead of starting with a blank sheet of paper or starting with a template of a project plan, we're actually pulling in project plans that are very, very relevant. So we'll select those two project plans, and we'll generate a draft project plan based upon that. And when we generate the draft project plan, not only do we get the activities, but we also get the assignments and the cost associated with those resources. So you've got an understanding what's going to cost us and what our margin is going to be in this opportunity. And obviously, Amy can click down through the demonstrations, click down through the project plan and see what's actually occurring that's in there. What she really wants to do is to make this special for this retailer. So again, we're synthesizing information from outside the organization and then bring it into this context. So we know and understand that Big Mart wants to go after a different segment of the consumers that are out there looking at the Gen Zers, and also recognizing that the Gen Zers generally like influential style podcasts. So we're going to add that into the project plan and add that new activity that's in there. And obviously, when we add in new activities, our cost process will change, and our margin will actually drop down a little bit because of that particular piece. And what the system will do for us is generate some prompts that can help resolve that particular challenge. So in this case, we've got a prompt to reduce resource cost. So we can click upon that, and as you see, we'll swap out some of the resources on the team for a lower cost alternative, but again, still relevant and skill set wise for delivering this particular project. So now we see our margins come better in line to where we wanted to go. We're now going to then generate the proposal, generate the text that goes along with that, and pull that all together. And as you see, we're just generating the standard text around that particular piece. And again, Amy's got complete control. She can edit this text, she can modify it. In this case, she wants to add in a new punch-out specifically on that social media presence that we're putting in place to this project plan to ensure that this project proposal stands out from the competition that have been very, very relevant to the supplier. Again, leveraging generative AI, a couple of different styles of use cases, being able to speed up this particular process, make Amy much more proficient in terms of what she's doing, and really driving that forward. Okay? So again, that's just a couple of vision demos that we had in place to really drive that forward. In order for us to do this, there's a couple of things that we do need to touch on. First and foremost, and you'll hear it a lot from my tech colleagues during this week, we've got the scale to run the models that you need to put in place in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So it's extremely important. The plumbing's in place, the infrastructure's there, we can actually take those workloads and move it out through. The other thing we need to be very, very careful on is to make sure it's secure. We're taking your proprietary data and we're not sharing that with anybody. We're not sharing that with the LMM providers, we're not sharing that with any other customers, we're not sharing that with Oracle. It's your data and will remain your data and will be secure from that standpoint. The other thing that we are working on is this notion of trusted. How do I know that what's been generated is relevant and correct? There's a lot of generative AI that's out there that generates misinformation or distorted information. And there are two processes that we need to put in place. One is we're going to train it privately with your data, so we know we're generating responses from your data. That gives you some confidence that it is the right response. And secondly, we're actually controlling some of the prompts so that we can guide that model, as you've seen in the demonstration, to ensure you're getting the right responses coming back out through. And then the last piece, obviously, as an application developer, we want to make sure this is embedded directly into the workflows that you have in place. This is not going to somewhere else. It's in the natural flow of the application, embedded directly into the systems as we move that forward. So hopefully from that, you'll basically see where we're going, what we're trying to do with the generative AI, and hopefully you're as excited as we are as we try to move this forward. Okay.
All right, as a wrap, I'd like you to take home with 3 points. Largest enterprises in the world are transforming their back office operations with Fusion Cloud ERP. Not only have they achieved operational success, but are also evolving with a lot of continuous value, innovation adoption in their company. Second, in addition to all customer-driven innovations, we are investing heavily on embedded B2B services and innovations and machine learning and Gen AI capabilities. All of these are going to be delivered via our regular Fusion quarterly release cycles that are very proven. Third, we are very passionate about partnering with all of you in your transformation journey. Our job is not done until you achieve success. Last but not least, there are a lot of great upcoming sessions for the various different product families, financials, projects, EPM. They are listed in here. Feel free to check out. There are a lot of details about what I talk about today, and you can actually ask the product managers a lot of questions. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone to come to the session today, and then hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.